What is going on YouTube? Mic drop here with a video I think needed to be made. Before I start off, let's face it, video games and movies are incompatible and we have more than enough evidence to support that. We've suffered through Assassin's Creed, Mortal Kombat, the Mario Bros movie, Hitman, Warcraft, Tomb Raider, Doom.
When will the lesson be learned?
I could go on for hours about why all of those movies didn't work out, but there's one problem that connects all of them. Interactivity. The reason video games have become acclaimed by billions is because of interactivity. If the ability to shoot a gun, rotate the camera, choose dialogue, or throw a punch weren't within our control, we'd just be watching movies. When we watch movies based on games, we can't change what the actors say and do, which means fans are always going to disapprove. A scene like this feels a lot less engaging than one we have control over. But interactivity is not the only thing that plagues these kinds of films. Most game movies I mentioned have source material that isn't plausible to be molded into a feature film, where the conventions of execution and presentation are a lot different from those that we've seen in games. For example, in Doom, the plotline in each game is very thin, which is not necessarily a bad thing. People have come to expect the Doom formula when they play it, which means they'll be having so much fun massacring demons that they won't be bothered by the severe lack of story. That isn't supposed to imply that all games that have been adapted so far don't have good stories, but because a majority of games are more heavily defined by gameplay than story, what works well in a video game may not always translate well to the big screen. Trust us on this. The overlapping problem is that there just isn't enough source material eligible for the motion picture adaptation process. But now we might just have the solution to this decades-old problem.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear. Metal Gear. Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear. Metal Gear. Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear Solid, or more broadly Metal Gear, is a multi-platform franchise of stealth games that have become beloved by millions since its conception back in 1987. Most of you have definitely heard of it, but for those of you who haven't played this series, stick around to understand why these games in particular are among the most eligible to be made into feature films. Now, as a brief overview of what these games are all about, let's do a very brief analysis of the plot. The timeline in the games follows the intertwined stories of two main characters, Big Boss and Solid Snake, as they are sent by various organizations ranging from private military companies to CIA deep cover units to stop weapons capable of firing nuclear warheads from any point on the globe called Metal Gears.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
And that was a gross oversimplification of the plot. The games themselves feature a nail-biting system of stealth that forces you to think through how you approach your objectives, whether you're braving the confines of Shadow Moses Island or carefully plotting out a grand scheme to take down a Soviet outpost in Afghanistan. This style of gameplay is praised for sure, but nearly all fans have a common appreciation ground for the series: the storyline. Boasting one of the most complex plots in any game series, even 30 years later fans are piecing it together and speculating theories. The stories of each game are intricate and interesting in their own special ways, and they always leave you wanting more at the end. The themes of nearly all the titles are deep and almost philosophical. Phantom Pain explores the scars that war brings, physical or mental. Snake Eater explores the questions of loyalty and trust. Peace Walker highlights the dangers of deterrence and the struggle for peace, and so on and so forth. These are all themes that have been explored in movies before, and this makes sense given that Hideo Kojima, head developer, is a known film buff. This is evident in the next part that makes the series eligible: presentation. Everyone who sits down to watch a movie wants good presentation. If the sound editing is weak, the cinematography wonky, the acting unconvincing, the characters uninteresting, or the plotline not explained well enough, the film is not going to be enjoyable, objectively or subjectively. In the Metal Gear franchise, all these intricacies are handled beautifully. Take a scene like this, for example.
I can't shake him.
The RPG can't put a dent in that armor.
Let's head for the rail bridge.
Bridge. I thought you rigged it with C3.
I did. We'll lure him onto the bridge.
Blow him up along with it. Good plan.
The bridge is on the other side of the runway. We'll have to cut through the middle of the base. You ready?
Step on it. If he catches up to us, we're done for.
Okay, here we go!
Every part of the scene feels alive, and even with the dated graphics, the game is able to pull you in and make you feel like you're part of the chase. Throughout the games, the cutscenes are what keep the fans engaged in the story. And that's not to say that the gameplay is lacking or there isn't enough of it. There's plenty of time to be crapping yourself at the guards walking over you, practically. But it's within the cutscenes that all the plot elements unfold, and we get those gripping, emotional, jaw-dropping moments. These games give us everything that any great movie would, with the added bonus of more than a few hours of solid gameplay. At the center of all of this, you have an unforgettable cast of characters, all played by very talented voice actors. The heroes, villains, and even the side characters are all well developed, and it's impossible to imagine the story without even one of them. The characters all contribute to the plot in ways that build on another central theme, that no one's right or wrong, good or bad on the battlefield. Everyone's just fighting to survive as soldiers, warriors, or whatever the hell this is. With a compelling cast to fill games that are more often than not 50% cutscenes, Kojima's already given us a bunch of movies, in a sense. Because the conventions used in the Metal Gear games and cinema are so strikingly similar, the problems of other video game movies have become irrelevant. The interactivity is a nice touch to the Metal Gear games, no doubt, but with such a linear game design and knowledge that our characters are in good hands and under close watch of Papa Kojima, it's very unlikely that a film adaptation, whether on the canon timeline or not, would fail. And with such a vast source material full of a rich plot, interesting characters, cinema-like cutscenes taking up the most of the games, and still a lot of dead time to place a movie in between certain installments, could this finally be the video game movie we've all been dreaming of?